boys and girls. We are in MyMath. We're going to work on pages 37 and 38 today. Independent practice, page 37. Round to the nearest hundred. 750. Now remember, you circle the hundreds because it says round to the nearest hundred. You look next door. If this number is 5 or more, we add 1. So this 7 becomes an 8, and all the numbers after that follow become zeros. 372. 7 is bigger than 5, so this becomes a 4. 3 becomes a 4, and all the numbers after become zeros. 1,368. We circle the hundreds. Look next door. That number is 6, which means it's bigger than 5. So it becomes 1,000. The 3, you add 1, 400. And the numbers after become zeros. 509. Circle the hundreds. Look next door. This number is smaller than 5. 0 is small, so 5 stays the same, and all of the numbers after become zeros. Number 5. 618. Circle the hundreds. 6. Look next door. 1. 1 is smaller than 5, so this number becomes 600. 1,216. Circle the hundreds. Look next door. This is a 1, so the 2 stays the same. 1,000, 2, and then we add the zeros after. Number 9. Round to the nearest 10 and the nearest 100. Cross out the rounded number that does not belong. So first we're going to round to the nearest 10. Let's circle the 5 and look next door. This 3 is small. So it's smaller than 5, so the 5 will stay the same, which means it is 450. So this is the nearest 10, and I'm just going to write the nearest 10 right there so I remember that. Now when I round to the nearest 100, I'm going to look at the 4 and look next door at the 5. This 5 is bigger, well, it's big, so 5 or more. When it's 5, this number goes up, so this will become a 5. 5, and then the zeros after, and that number is right here. So this number does not belong. It says cross out the number that does not belong, so I'm going to cross this one out. Round to the nearest 10 and 100. So let's look at the tens place. 3, and then we'll look next door. That 3 is small, so this one's going to stay 3, and this is going to turn into a 0. So that's 6330, and that matches right here. So this is the nearest 10. Now the nearest 100, circle the hundreds. Look next door. That's a 3, which is smaller, so the 3 stays the same. So it's 6,300. 6,300. This is the hundreds. And this number does not belong. 5,037. Round to the nearest 10, circle the 3, look next door, and that 7 is bigger than 5. So this 3 is going to become a 4. So that's 504, and then 0. So this one is here. Now to the nearest 100, let's circle the hundreds, 0, and after it's a 3, which is smaller than 5. So all of these numbers are going to turn into zeros, and this 0 is going to stay the same. So that is 5,000, which is right here. This is to the nearest 10, and this one was to the nearest 100. And we cross this one out. And number 12, 4,776. Circle the tens place. Look next door. This number is 6, which is bigger than 5. So this we're going to add 1. 4, 7. This 7 becomes an 8, and all the numbers after become 0. This is the nearest 10. Here it is. And that's to the nearest 10. Now let's round to the nearest 100. Circle the 7. Look next door. This is a 7, which is bigger than 5. So we're going to add 1 to this 7 in the hundreds place, which becomes 4,800, which is here. And we're going to cross this one out because it does not belong. Round each number to the nearest 100. Circle the row or column in which 3 rounded numbers are the same. So I'm going to do this one with you, and I'm going to have you do this one on your own. Round each number. So this one to the nearest 100. Look next door. That's a 1, so this one's going to stay the same. Now let's go here. 200. Look next door. That's a 7, which means we're going to add 1 to 2. So that becomes 300. Remember, if I'm ever going too fast, pause the video, and then you can rewind it or pause it in work and then rewatch it again. 300, look next door at 6. This 6 is bigger than 5, so the 3 we're going to add 1, so it becomes 400. 404, circle the 4. Look next door, this number is smaller than 5, so it stays the same. 400. 321, circle the hundreds, look next door. This 2 is smaller than 5, so the 3 stays the same. 3 and the numbers after are zeros. 223, circle the hundreds, look next door. This 2 is smaller than 5, so these numbers after are going to become zeros, but the 2 stays the same. Okay, 189, 100, look next door at the 8. That means this 1, we're going to add a 1 to it, so it becomes 200. 291, circle the hundreds, look next door. This number is 9, so we're going to add 1 to the 2, so it becomes 300. And our last problem, 363, circle the 3, look next door. This is a 6, which means it's larger than 5, so that we're going to add 1 to the 3, becomes 400. Now, the last part said circle the row or column in which 3 rounded numbers are the same. So we're going to look here and see if we can find that tic-tac-toe, and it's right here. These 3 rounded numbers are the same. Let's go to the bottom. Circle whether each rounded number is rounded to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100. So let's look here. 557 rounds to 560. So if I was looking at the tens place, next door, this 7 would make the 5 turn into a 6, so I'd get 560. So this one is rounding to the nearest 10. 415. If I was rounding this to the nearest 10, I know that this 1 would turn into a 2 because of the 5. So if it's saying 400, if it was to the nearest 10, it would be 420. So let's try the hundreds. 400, look next door, that's a 1, so this 4 stays the same, so this is to the nearest 100. 89 rounds to 100. If I was rounding this to the nearest 10, I'd circle the 8, look next door, this would become 90. So that's not the nearest 10. How about to the nearest 100? There's no hundreds place, but if I look next door, this number is 8, so I would add 1 here, which would mean it would be 100, which is the nearest 100. 75 rounds to 80. I'm going to try the tens first. Circle the 7, look next door. This 5 makes the 7 get to an 8, which gives me 80, which is the nearest 10. Number 19. A passenger train traveled 687 miles. To the nearest 100, how many miles did the train travel? So to the nearest 100. So let's see. 687, circle the hundreds, look next door. That 8's big, so I'm going to add 1 to this, and I'm going to get 700. Myron has 179 postcards. He says he has about 200 cards. Did he round to the nearest, round the number of cards to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100? Explain. So if he was rounding that to the nearest 10, we would say 79, let's look next door, this would become an 8. So 180 would be to the nearest 10. He is rounding to the hundreds. I feel like I didn't have enough room for that question because 179, the hundreds, circle the 1, look next door, the 7 is bigger than 5, so this 1, we add 1, it becomes 200. So that's the nearest 100. And I know that because the nearest 10 would be 180, not 200. To the nearest 100, what will be the cost for the 3rd grade to take a trip to the zoo? To the nearest 100. So let's find that hundreds place. It's an 8. Look next door, there's a 5. 5 makes this number go up, so by 1, so 1,900. 1,900. And don't forget that dollar sign because it's dollars. Mrs. Jones is thinking of a number that when rounded to the nearest 100 is 400. What is the number? So this number could be any number above 350, right? So 350 or larger. And then we're going to say because 5 makes the 3 add 1. If it was 399, that would be 400. If it was 350, 51, 52, 370, anything 350 or larger would be rounded up to 400. because this 5 right here in the tens place tells the 3 it's kind of bossy, tells the 3 to go up to a 4. If there was a 6, 7, 8, 9, anything else here, it would also tell this to turn to a 4. Building on a central question, why might you want to round to the nearest 100 rather than the nearest 10? And I would say you'd round around to the nearest 100 because sometimes it helps us estimate when we're thinking of larger numbers. So rounding to the nearest 100 helps with larger numbers. And also if you're thinking of maybe making a big purchase, right?